Leaders, Michael here, and welcome to the 5 pillars of high performance leadership. Now, we are just waiting for a minute or two to make sure that the events start and that Emma gives my confirmation that she can hear me and see me because we're going live on a couple different platforms at once. And what that means is that um, we want to make sure everything's working. So again, welcome to the 5 pillars of high performance teams, where we're going to talk about what you need to do to create a team that is performing on all their levels. Because you as a leader, almost by definition, you're there to make a team perform. Okay, Emma's giving me the update. She can see me. Hopefully, Emma, you can hear me, and that means everybody else can hear me and see the good old slides. So as we are joining, and as people are joining, I want you to type in the chat where you are joining from, because the fun thing is with my audience, I have a truly global audience. So if you have the ability and you have the comments function there, just pop in where you're calling from, and because I like to know where everybody's coming in from. And as we get started here, I want you to put your questions in to the chat, and Emma's going to feed them to me because again, we're on a couple of different platforms here. So I'm not seeing the chat directly, but that's what we have. That's what Emma's handling right now. And Emma, why don't you let me know where people are coming in from as that comes in? Now, as we go through this, I have a specific allocated time at the end for Q&A. So I want you to put your questions in as you have them, and then I will answer them at the end. Oh, hi, Helena. Nice to meet you from good old Switzerland. All right. She was just in a recent accelerator of mine. And Chris from Delaware, good old the States. Good, good, good. All right, as we jump in, I want to get in here because we got a lot of good stuff. Oh, we got a couple people. Montana, beautiful place. Aaron from Seattle. Hey, Aaron, how you doing? Rafael from Puerto Rico. Oh, I love it. People from all over the place. Well, welcome everybody, no matter where you're from. And I don't want to spend too much time on this. Oh, another person from Switzerland. So it's just great to see where everybody's from. Now let's jump in to the content, to the good stuff. So my question to you, dear leader, is right now, if you had your whole team sitting in a room right now and you were looking at your team, you were just reflecting on that, would you think to yourself, here's an amazing team. I feel like their leader. I'm so proud of every one of them. They all totally respect me. They love working here and we're crushing all of our targets and goals. Maybe you do, but a lot of people don't. But that's really where we need to get to as leaders. And that's a great little reflection for you to know what your current state is. Because this is what I hear from leaders. I talk to a lot of leaders, normally a couple a day. And here's what I hear from leaders. First thing is, look, a lot of people, they're struggling with time management and delegation, and they're micromanaging. You don't know how many times I hear from leaders like, I'm micromanaging, I don't want to, but I know I am, but I don't really know what else to do to make the team perform. That's one that I hear a lot from leaders. So a lot of people say, look, it's just easier to do easier to do things myself than get the team to do them and hold them accountable. I want them to take ownership, but I'm just not sure how to get there. A lot of cases with leaders, they know where they want to get, they just don't know how to get there. Some people are struggling with loyalty and morale. It's like their team are just showing up for the paycheck. But you need more than that to have a high performing team, to have a team that really works on all levels. Leaders are moving to towards a new strategic direction, and they need clarity and focus, but they also need the confidence. A lot of leading is bringing change in and leading change, but that's difficult unless you have the right strategy and the right tools and skills. Or, especially as a newer leader, I'm working to build connections and activate the right people. or hire new leaders. I know a lot of people, they say, hey, in my team, there's not really leaders I could delegate to and have people take up some of the slack. I'm having to do all of it myself. Um, Keeping your team motivated and engaged. Look, there's a lot of change going on. There's economics, there's politics, there's always things, but you need to keep our team inspired, motivated, and engaged. And that's a job within itself. And that's your job as the leader. And then a lot of people get promoted without the right training and support, and they face self-doubt. They really find themselves wanting to be liked, but then they're not really respected. So how do they get there? Look, if any of this resonates with you, first of all, this is very common. You're not broken. We got some solutions for you, and you're in the right place to learn how to overcome that. Because there's this is just putting in everything that we just talked about, moving from a low performing team to a high performing team. And sometimes even if you are hitting your targets, you're still a low performing team. There's a massive amounts of um, potential for you to achieve. And all of this, often what we just talked about results in missed targets. A lot of people aren't hitting their targets, aren't meeting expectation. There's a lack of trust. And when that happens, people stop, like your peers, your boss, whatever, stops trusting you. Within the team, there's a lack of trust. And this creates stress for everyone involved, especially you as the leader. And then because normally you're a high performer and now you're in a leadership position, there's a potential shame spiral because you're so used to being able to solve things, but then you get down on yourself and it gets worse and worse and worse. So really what this is talking about, because we're to create, this is about creating a sustainable, long-term sustainable high performing team. Not just for next week, not just for next quarter, but how can you have a predictable high performing team? And look, it supports each and every one of your team members growing, your personal growth, and then your team grows and your company grows. And if you read Leadership Mindset 2.0, I teach growth leadership. And so the leadership I teach is all about growing your team, growing your people in your team, growing yourself to be that leader. And then what happens is your company grows, your team grows, your revenue grows, your profit grows, your enjoyment grows. All that stuff grows. And if you don't know me, most people know me. Most people that are on there probably know me. But look, I was a corporate executive. Then I went on to found, scale, and sell 3 international companies. One of our company won the #1 best place to work. It was on the Inc. 5000 list of fast growing companies a couple years in a row. My last book, Leadership Mindset 2.0, won 3 Book of the Year awards. Still sells about $1,000 a day, every day, even a couple years after publication. And let me tell you this, when I first got to leadership, I was not a good leader. And I'm very open about this. What happened is I founded my first software company in my mid 30s, 35. And then all of a sudden I have this team and that was looking to me for leadership. And back then I was very intelligent, very driven. I understood the technology. I understood business pretty well. I understood the technology. I even had a good grasp of management, but I didn't understand leadership. And my company had some success in the very beginning. And what happened is we grew, and I had a proper team. A lot of people, most of the people were older than me because I was still relatively young. I suffered from a massive imposter syndrome, and I didn't understand what they needed from me. I understand that they needed more, but I wasn't positive what that was because I realized there was problems in the culture. What happened was I thought that leadership was just getting a bunch of to-dos in, giving all the tasks out. And if people didn't get them done as fast or as well as I thought I could, I would get frustrated, mad, and angry. Of course, that didn't work. So I knew I wasn't giving them what they needed. I knew our culture wasn't great, but I wasn't even sure what a culture was, much less how to change it. I knew that we lost some really key people that because of my relationship and because of who they were, I didn't really know why we lost them. I sort of knew, but it's like I really didn't know. and we were starting to mess up on clients, etc. And look, I got a long story about how my business partner assaulted me, blah 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 blah, and I went on and get a master's degree in a real unique type of psychology, and I spent a lot of time on and money and investment on myself, on really learning psychology and neuroscience. I got some great coaches, and that really shifted things around. And when I got to learn what I teach now, leadership became so fun, and we were such a high performing team. Our culture was people really looked out for each other. It was about the company and the team, not individual people anymore. And when you can create that and you can see people growing as people, growing as business people, growing as leaders themselves, that's really where the fun comes in as leaders. And that is where you get true high performance. Okay, so that's a little bit about me, a little bit about what we're going to be talking about. Now, you might have downloaded this team performance scorecard, and if you didn't, don't do it now. And Emma, don't give them the link. I was going to give links, but we're not going to give the links because I don't want you having to download it and then try to fill it in really quick, because we're going to do a little mini evaluation. So we're going to go through each pillar by pillar, and we're going to talk about what they are, what they mean. You're going to do a quick self-evaluation. So get a pen and a paper if you don't have it right now, because I don't want you doing it on Word, because then you're going to have to be flipping back and forth. I want you to listen to me and watch me. So get a pen and paper. And right now, and even if you did the scorecard, it's good if you have it in front of you, but then you can just remind yourself of what you graded yourself on. And right now, I want you to write down what isn't going well. Just one or two sentences about you as a leader of a team. And this could be like you're not hitting your targets. You're not meeting your team expectations. You maybe have your poor culture. Maybe you don't feel like a leader. Maybe you're getting feedback from your boss. Maybe I've had people, their teams, like, hey, I need to be more of a strategic leader. They need more leadership from me. I don't really know even what that means. Maybe your boss is saying you need to step up your leadership game. Maybe other people are. Maybe you own the company. Maybe it's the investors. Maybe it's your business partner. Maybe you have a problem with or you're worried about your career progression. Or maybe, again, if you are a business owner, maybe your company's stalling out because you're running out of bandwidth. Whatever it is, just write down one or two or three things that's really affecting you because your team isn't performing. So, again, with each pillar, we're going to talk about what they are. We're going to do a quick self evaluation. We're going to talk about the common mistakes, the strategy. How do you solve? How do you get these on the right track? And then a little bit of a summary and a recap for each one. Easy peasy. So, pillar number one is the culture of your team. Every team has a culture. And what I do is, as I call this, you can think of this as the personality of your team, or the soil. And I'll tell you what that means in a second. Because here's what culture is: it's the invisible set of behaviors, beliefs, and norms that shape how your team shows up every day. For example, if somebody else was to observe your team for a day and read your team's mind, what would they say? Or if you have somebody new join your team, how would they describe your team? In a way, it's the personality of your team. Is your team really creative? Is your team very analytical? Is your team really like have a lot of fun? Is your team this? Is your team that? And it's the personality of your team, and it's also the soil, because your soil, the culture, is what your team like grows out of. Now, it's a bit intangible, the culture, but it's really important. Your culture is going to drive performance as much as anything else. And you have to be intentional about your culture, and we'll talk about what that means. So for this, now we're going to do a quick self-evaluation. So I want you to think about culture. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about culture, and then if it's awesome, write a 5. If it stinks, write a 1. If it's a little bit okay but not that good, write a 2, 3, 4. Right? Just make this simple. Don't try to overcomplicate it. We just want to get a gauge of where you're at. And as we go to the self-evaluations, just remind, if you did the scorecard, remind yourself what you got in this, went through and did in the scorecard. Just review it really quickly. So your self-evaluation for culture is basically, is your team's environment built on trust, ownership, and collaboration? When you're in meetings, do people take ownership? Or when somebody makes a problem, do they try to blame and make excuses or hide? Now, does your team consistently underdeliver or overdeliver? Do they did they make every single deadline? If they make every deadline and they always over deliver and they take ownership, you got a 5 for culture. If they miss some here and there, you're not going to get a 5. If they miss, if you have to explain to them what proper delivery is, if they're blaming, etc., you're not a 5, etc. How about this one? Can people disagree without it turning into drama? A healthy team, a healthy culture is where you really can thrash out issues without people getting angry at each other. That's a healthy culture. And if there's a lot of gossip, that's a problem in your culture. If there's a lot of back talk, negative back talk, when people aren't not in front of people. And here's a really good way to say this. Are people selflessly invested in the team's success? This means it's like people on a great culture, people care about the team succeeding a bit more than they care about their own self succeeding. That's what a great culture is. So give yourself a 1 to 5 in there, or refresh yourself from the scorecard. Now here's the mistakes people make with culture, with leaders make with culture. They tell people what they should do and think. Oh, you should take more ownership. You should be on time. You should do this. You should do that. You don't drive behavior just by telling people this. And if you have to tell them, there's probably a disconnect somewhere. Hoping it changes it on its own. I hope the culture gets better. Hope is never a good strategy. And you are going to have a culture of your team. And if you don't form it yourself, it's probably going to be not a great culture. Some leaders try to buy their way into better culture by kissing people's butt, trying to be liked, giving people raises, promotions, perks, etc. That is going to work, but only for a couple of weeks, and they're going to keep expecting more and more and more. So that's not a good strategy at all, long term. Or what happens is people aren't taking ownership, so the leader takes on everything, and they need their team to perform, so they keep taking on everything, and then they burn themselves out, etc. So these are mistakes people make. So what do you do about the strategy? Well, you need to be intentional about your culture by defining it. And a really simple exercise to do is take out a piece of paper and write down, and you can do this if you have a number 2 that you really trust, somebody that knows your team, that could be really honest with you. You could write down what what do you believe the current culture of your team is. People gossip a bit. People, it's okay to be late to things. It's okay to deliver things late. Write that what that culture is. We sort of care, but not that much, etc. And then write down what you think the culture should be. And when you write down what the culture should be, it should be in alignment with your overall company. If you only have a team, your overall company culture. If you have, if you're the owner of the company, you're doing this for the whole company. It should be a bit in line with what your culture, with what the industry is. I know John Clary, a business owner who comes to, who's been through a bunch of my programs. They do sports like if you have a company and you want to do a picnic or like an offsite and play soccer, football there, he organizes that. So they're all really athletic men and women who work there. So they're very competitive. So, fun competition might be part of their culture. You wouldn't want like a non-competitive culture in something like that where they really enjoy competition for fun. Or if you're in a bank, you would not want a massively creative culture because you're there for stability. So your culture has to go in with a bit of what your company is, but also your own personality. The leader needs to model and to mirror what the culture of the team is. And then so you get what you want the culture to be, and then you need to roll it out to your team and then get their buy-in, communicate your expectations, and hold people accountable to it. Yeah, I know it's a little easier said than done. It's not going to happen overnight, but this is something you need to move towards. And the last thing is you need to be impeccable at modeling it. Impeccable at modeling it. I was a business owner hired me to do a strategic session, a yearly strategic planning session with their team, and he sent me their core values. And as we started the 2 day session, I got there. I said, hey, I just want to review a couple things before we jump in. I said, okay, the CEO's name was Ryan. I said, Ryan, what is this um, value called uh, tight? And he goes, tight. He's like, I want everybody to be on time. I want everybody to be prepared all the time for everything. I said, Ryan, are you tight? He's like, oh, yeah, of course I'm tight. I'm like, well, interesting, because you 2 times ago, you missed one of our scheduled conference call, and then you were 10 minutes late to our last one. He goes, yeah, I'm not so good, but I want everybody else to be tight. I'm like, well, that doesn't work. That's a disconnect. And it's almost not fair because when we are leaders, we're under a microscope. So anything we want, if you want respect from your team, long-term, true, deep down respect, you need to get crystal clear about what you expect of them, and you need to do it 100 times better than they ever do it. And that's what leadership is. So you got to be really careful of your behaviors through all of this. And here's the last thing about culture: if you don't intentionally create your culture, dysfunction will create itself. Your team has a culture, whether you like it or not, and it's going to create itself. So you need to take ownership and create it for the team. So that's pillar one, culture. Pillar number two, purpose and vision. And I call this the compass of your team. The purpose of your why is why your team exists, and vision is where you're going together. And together they give direction and meaning. And look, it doesn't matter if you run a 2-person department. It doesn't matter if you want to run a shipping department or an accounting department or a finance department or a marketing department within a bigger organization. You need to have a purpose and you need to have a vision. And you need to communicate it to people. Because people want to belong to something bigger than just themselves. And if you want a high performing team, you got to get people that are coming in more than just to make a paycheck. And you do that with a purpose and a vision. And it doesn't always have to be to change the world or to be flashy or this. It can be they come in all different shapes and sizes. But here's your self-evaluation. And is your team aligned and moving towards a clear goal? So have you presented, as the leader, have you presented a vision of where you want the team to go to look like and where it's going? Does everybody know the purpose of the team? Are they excited about it? And do they know how to contribute? And are your team's decisions guided by your values, purpose, and vision? 3 really simple questions that are important to answer. And if you don't have this, that's okay. A lot of leaders don't, but a lot of leaders don't have a high performing team either. So if you want a high performing team, you need to get this in there. Here's the mistakes people have with a purpose or a vision. They just skip it, and go straight to task. They don't even do a purpose or a vision. That's an easy mistake people do. The purpose and vision is either too corporate or too self-serving. If your purpose or your vision have the phrase to make shareholder value, it's not a good purpose or a vision. See, the purpose and our vision are to get people excited to going to work in your team or in your company. And I don't want to go to work to make you or the shareholders or the investors more money. That's not fun for me. It's about me. Why do I care about this job, about this role? That is really what is important. And um, and so it's like becoming number one in our industry. Becoming number one in our industry is normally important to the senior leadership, but maybe it's not that important to everybody else. To double profit, like why would I want to double profit? So when it comes to becoming number one in your category, making more profit, doubling revenue, that can work, but normally it doesn't because people don't care. It's not helping what you need the purpose and the vision for. And then once some people make a great purpose and the vision, then they put it in a desk and nobody ever hears about it again. So how to do that? So again, that's your self-evaluation. Give yourself a 5. Hey, we have a great purpose and vision. Everybody is behind that. 1, we don't have any, or whatever it is in between. All right, so purpose and vision is strategy to get there. So you translate your big goal, where you want to go as a company, into a simple, inspiring vision everybody can see themselves in. A vision is what it looks like when you're successful. You keep it alive by connecting daily tasks to the long-term purpose. That's really what you do for a purpose and a vision. And again, this is a really short training, so I'm just giving you a couple sound bites, but this is there's a lot to that. But that's really what you need to do. Where are you going as a team and why do you exist? You need to explain that to everybody and they need to understand their role in that. And when they do, that's when people get engaged. That's when people love coming to work. When your team knows the why, the how takes care of itself. When you get this nailed, then a lot of other things fall into place. And for my company, it took a year, 2 years to get this into place. It took a lot of reflection, took a lot of working with my own coach, Michelle Saul. We rolled it out to our team, and it takes. This is not like an overnight type of thing, but you got to start on it and you got to move towards it. Pillar 3, team makeup. This is the puzzle pieces. And it's the composition of your team, both the skills, personalities, and the strength, the individual people, how they fit together in the roles that they're in. These are the puzzle pieces the chess pieces that you need to move around as the leader. Here's our self-evaluation. Do you have the right people? There's a famous book called Good to Great. And Jim Collins, who wrote it, says you got to get the right people on the bus and in the right seats. That was his metaphor. So the question I have to you, dear leader, is do you have the right people on the bus and are they sitting in the right seats? Now, for each person on your team, a great question to you is, would you hire them again? You know what they can do, you know what they can't do. Would you hire them again? If yes, you're in a good place. If not, you got problems, right? And again, look, I've went through all this stuff. Everything I teach, I've screwed up multiple times. And that's why I enjoy teaching it because I know how impactful it can be when you learn these things. Is each person playing to their strengths in a long-term fit for your company? So, often not, sometimes we have to plug holes. And some people have to do. You might have somebody in there you don't know crazy about, but sometimes that short-term person often turns into a long-term person. Or some people are doing a task it's not their favorite, they don't really enjoy doing, not in their strength, but then they stay there month after month, year after year. That's not good for you, not good for them. And then does each people buy into your leadership, the goals, purpose, vision, and the culture? Are they personality fits? Are they culture fits? That's your self-evaluation. Give yourself a 1 to 5 for that. Here's the mistakes people make. They hire for skill only. They ignore personality, collaboration style, long-term potential, and culture fit. They just hire if the skills match. And then, whether it's during the hiring process or after that, they are not clearly communicating the expectations in the role. When I coach a lot of leaders, a lot of executives, and they're like, oh, this person's not doing so and so and so and so and so and so. My question is, have you explained that that's what they're supposed to do? Well, sort of. I'm like, well, what does well sort of mean? You either did or you didn't. Well, not really. Okay. Well, you got to do that. So a lot of it really is an art as a leader to make sure that you are clearly communicating things to people. And then if they don't follow through properly, are you holding people accountable to that? And because a lot of people don't get held accountable and they accept bad performance and behavior because again they want to be liked, they don't like conflict, etc. And they just hope people will change and then they keep mediocre players. Now that is the mistakes people make. Here is the strategy you need for your team makeup. You have to hire and promote for values and fit, culture, purpose, vision, not just CV, not just the resume. You should use personality assessments and strength tools to make sure they're playing in the right place. And all this puts the right people in the right seats. And you know what? You have to exit the wrong fits. It's okay to have somebody that doesn't match your team. That's part of life. So you have to exit them out of the organization sooner or later. It doesn't mean you just fire everybody anyway, but you need to make sure that you're creating a high performing team. Because, dear leader, your job is to create a team of high performers. when you have a team and you have a couple high performers and a couple mediocre players, maybe a lazy person or two, and you don't hold the people accountable and you let when you let subpar performance happen, what do you think is in the mind of the high performers? What do you think is in the mind of the people that works a couple extra hours to make sure that client is satisfied or learn something on their own so that they develop their own skill set? And then they see somebody slacking off and you not holding them to account. They're thinking, well, I don't respect this leader. I'm busting my butt. People aren't busting their butt. Why should I bust my butt? So they get lazy or they want to go on another team where they're surrounded by other high performers. Your job as a leader is to have A and B plus players in every seat. And if they're not B plus or A players, you either need to coach them to get there or you need to replace them. Or I hate to tell you this, you're never going to have a high performing team because you can't. I was talking to a leader just yesterday, and he's like, "Yeah, out of 6 people, 2 people aren't performing." I'm like, "That's a third of your team. You're not going to be a high performing team with a third of your team not playing full out." I just got to open my phone to make sure Emma's keeping me up to date with all the comments and questions. And just remember, as you have questions on these things, put them into the comments. I'm going to get to a Q&A, so you don't have to remember them. Pop them in when you have them. So um, that is this. Pillar 4, team engagement. Now, here's what team engagement is for. This is for the fuel of the team. Team engagement is somewhat similar to culture. Culture is more the whole team. Engagement is you need to get each and every person engaged. And culture is what you want it to be, and engagement is what each and individual person are doing. And they're both massively important, and they take different strategies for each one. But they support all the pillars support each other. So team engagement is the fuel. Engagement is the level of ownership and energy people bring, and accountability and empowerment equal motivated, proactive teams. So the pillar 4, the self-evaluation is, are people stepping up, taking initiative, and owning results? So does your team wait for instructions, or are they self-starters? Do they take initiative and they love to grow? That's a question. Do you have to give instructions to each individual people, or they just do it? They know it needs to be done to just do it. And do they go out of their way to be self-starters? Do people love being on your team? Do they really enjoy it? Do they like, hey, I've had there's a Tim who's been the CEO, and he came to me, he saw me speak, and after the presentation, he said, "How I get a call talk to you?" We set up a call, and he's like, "Our company," he was the MD and co-founder, co-owner. He said, um, "Our team has been our company has leveled off. We had this great growth," and he said, "I realize there's a bottleneck, and it's me. I'm not holding people account. I'm not engaging people. I'm micromanaging and firefighting." And he went through one of these accelerators that I'm going to talk about in a little while. And he's like, "I get it now." And 2 people came to him, and they're like, "This is the most fun I've enjoyed. I've enjoyed working here more than any place else." And you know what people enjoy working at are places where they kick butt at, where they really provide a lot at. We'll talk about this in a second. I'm getting ahead of myself. Um, and if you're in a bigger company, your team should be the one everybody else wants to work for. That's what a high performing team is, that other high performers want to move over there. Or if you're in an industry, it's what other high performers aspire to join your team. And do they see people being part of your team, as essential to their career and personal growth? You need to be growing people in your team. That is part of your job as well. So give yourself a 1 to 5 on that self evaluation. Here's the mistakes people make with engagement. They confuse control with accountability. You don't need to control things, you need to have people accountable to things. And too much control is going to be bad for them and bad for you because you're going to get burnt out and they're not going to take initiative. And leaders micromanage or hold people accountable without authority, and which results in resentment and confusion. and burnout. And leaders are afraid to or don't know how to have the powerful conversations because they prioritize comfort and safety to growth and change. So, they don't know how to have the difficult conversations. And, when well, let me, I get ahead of myself again. All right. So here's how you fix or create great engagement. You give really clear expectations, you give authority, and you empower people. You have accountability frameworks that are supportive, not punitive, that are supportive. You celebrate ownership, and you know what drives each team member and be their catalyst to growth. We're going to talk about this in a second, but you need to really coach people. And I'll tell you what this means. You need to get the best out of people. When they talked to world-class athletes and they said, "Who was your favorite coach in your career?" It was never the career. It was never the coach that was easiest on them. It's the one that pushed them the most. It's the one that saw the potential in them and made them uncomfortable in service to their growth. So that's why you need to know each and every one of the personalities of people on your team. You need to know what they need, and you need to give them what that is, and that's your job as a leader, because your job is to activate each team member. I had there was a great guy, Russell, who I hired, and we hired him very young, early 20s, and he in a couple years he really worked his way up. And I was having lunch with him, or lunch or dinner with him, meal with him, a couple years after I sold the firm, and he said, "Mike, I just want to thank you." I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "Okay," because he went on to have massive success afterwards. And I'm like, "Oh, because I taught you about all the software and all the stuff." He's like, "No." I'm like, "Oh no, I thought that's what I got." But he's like, "Because you taught me emotional intelligence. You taught me how to be a leader." He's like, "I can learn that technology stuff anywhere," and that made me real proud that that's what he got from me. Pillar 4. Your role is to activate each team. Oh, that's it. This is what, yeah, your role is to activate each team member. Pillar 5, leadership. You are the conductor, not the firefighter. And I love this because people find themselves as the firefighter. And I get this one, Gregor, amazing leader. And he said, "Yeah, what I want to be is the conductor." And that's what I see it is. Leaders, you have to have your be in flow with everybody. Tell a little bit more of this, a little bit less of this, and have just know what everybody's doing, just be in that flow and have trust in things. And the and that's really where you want to get to. And I see the questions coming in. I'll get to all of them. We're queuing them up. So send your questions in. And leadership is the presence, mindset, of behavior of you. It's the force multiplier for all the other pillars. And I love that force multiplier. So you have all the other pillars, and you as the leader is what's really going to make this the glue and really going to make these things work well. So your self-evaluation, are you leading strategically or stuck in the weeds? Because we need you to be that conductor, that strategic leader. Is your role to fix or save or are you the expert in coaching and mentoring your team? Are you doing, or are you teaching your team how to do better? Is your time mostly on strategically moving the team ahead? Do you feel you have the respect of your team? Do they view you as their leader? Do you view yourself as the leader? A lot of people don't. They're like, "Yeah, I manage the team, but I don't really feel like the leader. I don't really feel like they see me as the leader." Do you feel like you have the proper tools, strategies, and specific roadmap to get to where you want to go? Because you may not be there, but you better have a roadmap. And if you don't have a roadmap, that's a problem. And we're going to talk about how to get that roadmap right at the end here. So, self evaluation from 1 to 5. Well, how are you as the leader? Common mistakes that you get addicted to doing, and you allow yourself to be the bottleneck. We all know this. Are you burning yourself out by doing, and try to outwork problems? And accepting mediocrity. Are you holding people accountable? Are you making excuses for people in the team? Or are you having them taking ownership and you taking ownership? Maybe you don't know what to do. Maybe you're stuck. Go get help. I talk to a lot of people and they're like, "Oh yeah, everybody's busy. I don't know what to do." Well, you better do something. Don't just complain and make excuses. That's on you as the leader. And there's a ton you can do. And or they'll be like, oh, we're not making our targets. Everybody's overworked. I'm burnt out. Everybody burnt out. And then they go, oh, but the economy's bad, or the politics, or the tariffs. You're the leader. Suck it up. This is your job. Don't give me these excuses. Figure out what to do. Hire a coach. Join an accelerator, etc. This is up to you. Don't make excuses. It's tough on it. Leadership is tough. That's why we're here. Maybe get out of leadership if you don't want to take on these challenges. I'm sorry, I love this stuff. I love doing this. And I also want people to grow and people to learn these things. All this stuff is learnable and doable. First of all, is get clear on your role. What should you be doing? A lot of leaders don't even know what that is. Get clear on what your role should be. Invest in your own mindset and tool set. All this stuff is solvable. Not all the stuff is easy, but all the stuff is solvable. Model the behaviors you want with other people, with yourself. And don't control. You're not there to control. You're there to coach, to delegate, to mentor, to guide, and to lead. And if you don't do that, congratulations. A lot of people don't, but you need to learn how to do that. I just put this out yesterday. Leaders don't grow teams by doing more. They grow teams by becoming more. Like you need to become more. You need to learn more, trust yourself more, learn more of these tools and tasks. All right, we're going to get to the Q&A in a couple minutes here, so keep popping your questions, and we got a bunch coming, so pop them in there. All right, so these are the 5 pillars. We talked about culture, vision and purpose, team makeup, engagement, leadership. And at the very beginning, I said, what do you need to change? Or is your team missing deadlines? Do you not feel respected? And just reflect on everything that we talked about. And what are these 5 pillars? Which ones are weak for you? Because they all support each other. Look, culture supports vision. Vision directs engagement. Team makeup makes execution possible. Leadership holds it all together. If you're missing one of them, the system collapses. If you're really weak in one of them, the whole system collapses. When you strengthen all 5, they sustain high performance. So just take a minute or two to reflect on all of that. What do you need to get done, and where are your gaps? Now, from here, this is the teaching part. We're going to go to Q&A in a second, but this is the main content part. So if this is what was helpful and this is what you needed, that's great. This is what I have for you. And afterwards, probably tomorrow, we'll probably put a link to the slides, etc., so you can download them. You have the replay here. So if you're like, okay, Mike, that was really helpful. I know what I need to work on now. You can go from here. However, if you're like, okay, Mike, I get you, I'm with you, but I need help. I understand what you mean, but I don't have that clear roadmap. I know my culture or vision has to change. I know I need that. How can I get that? Well, then stick around, because what I'm running in the beginning of October is the Team Performance Accelerator. Now, if you've been following me for a little while now, you know that I run 3 accelerators every year. One on mindset, one on strategic leadership, and one on team performance. And so in a couple weeks, I'm going to start a new cohort of the Team Performance Accelerator. So if you as a leader need to create a team culture built on trust and ownership, if you need to, where people really step up instead of pointing fingers, if that's the type of culture you need to create, and you need to align your team around a clear, inspiring vision so that everyone knows exactly why their work matters. And if you need to have the right people in the right roles, collaborating effectively, pulling together towards shared goals. And if you need to implement simple accountability systems and empower people to own their results and take the proper initiative, and you need to step out of firefighting into strategic leadership, and you need to get confident in your ability and guide to grow your team, then that's what you're going to get out of these 3 months that we spend together. Now, this is how you learn how to create a long-term sustainable high-performing team. And if you take and invest in this accelerator, you're going to learn how to do this with your own team, but you're going to have these tools and skills. People that go through my accelerators and masterminds, they take this and they don't just have it for this role. They have it for the next and the next and the next, because this stuff is applicable to every team that you're going to run. And look, it supports your team member. You're going to learn how to grow each and every member of your team, grow new leaders in your team so that they can take more off of your back. It's going to be great for your personal growth. Everybody who ever goes through my accelerators are like, I grew as a person too. It helps me in my personal life. And also it's going to grow your team and your company. So this is a 3-month program. So what this is they're live interactive sessions every 2 weeks. We get together and there's a 2-hour session. I'm teaching in a Zoom. People from around the world will join. So you get, this is not anybody else teaching. These are not pre-recorded. This is me teaching you in an interactive format. And everything is integration focused. So today, I know you've listened to me a lot, but this is not me talking for 2 hours. It's me talking. We're doing group work. We're doing integration work. Between the 2 weeks, we have accountability. We have mindset anchors. So it's really about learning things. Then for next week, going through and implementing them, getting feedback and coaching on them from me and the other leaders, and really learning them to a deep degree. And then you also get private community access and you get lifetime access to all these tools. So we talked about a lot of things. If you want tools and roadmaps on how to get there, this is where you get them from. So details and next steps. So it starts October 2nd. Sessions are Thursday, 4 p.m. UK time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. West Coast time. Sorry, people on the West Coast, it starts a little early for you, but I'm American living in the UK, so we have to cover Europe and US. So the investment is, it's $11.95 USD or $9.95 in the early bird. So you get 3 months of live training and support and coaching from me for either $1,000 or $1,200. $1,000 if you sign up by the 22nd, which is not that far away. I think it's the 22nd. Or is that wrong? Is that the 16th? Emma, let me know if I got that time wrong, that date wrong. I open my phone again so Emma knows more to me about this stuff. It might be the 16th. Option. You can also add on 3 private one-on-one coaching mentoring sessions with me for $500. These are half an hour, quick hit mentoring sessions, just you and me hop on a call. Normally this is $1,500. Actually, it's closer to $1,800, but it's only $500. I'm giving you a chance. I think this is 16th, so we're just going to cross that out. And we're at 16th because we want to have an early bird discount for people that are ready to jump on this. If you, here's the sign up link, or you can hit the old QR code here. If you have an HR department, we have like PDFs that you can send to them, because a lot of companies will cover this for your learning and development. I mean, it's a pretty accessible price for what you're getting out of it. And when you go here, there's case studies. You can also hit me or my team up for questions, etc. But it's pretty straightforward. And I think a lot of you have been through one of these before. All right, now we're going to hit Q&A. So you can ask me Q&A about the course. You can ask me Q&A about everything, anything, all that good stuff. Okay, so let me go to the questions. Okay, Caitlin, how do I help my team and culture if my company doesn't want to hire more staff? We've been down a full-time employee for over a year. I'm struggling to be a new manager and still doing my old job as well. We keep getting the excuse of funds because business slows down. It appears we aren't valued as well as other departments. Okay, Caitlin, I get it. A lot of people, I'm worried employees will be burned out soon due to a very high workload, and that's not sustainable over a long period of time. Yeah, I get this. I get this from a lot of people. And what you have to do is you have to realize that the situation is a situation, and you have to deal with the situation to do this. So when you start having a vision and a purpose, that takes some of the pressure off of that, because you have something that your team is working towards. Also, you need to do things like manage up and manage across so that people start valuing your team. So there's tools and skills you need to learn so that you can start positioning and dealing with other executives on a way so that they value you more. That's your job as a leader. That's nobody else's job but you. You also have to find out what's really core in your team and focus on that. So you're focused on what needs to be done. And then you have and there are often times what I find in this is that other people in your team aren't doing things strategically, that there's a lot of what I call it wheel spin, a lot of time being spent on things that it shouldn't be. So you need to get there and you need to start coaching and mentoring people. So you need, Caitlin, you have some work to do as a leader and a manager to really get your team to this high performing. Because you can't just say, oh, we need another people. You need to streamline things. You need to start holding people accountable. Because you're going to get into this thing. And it's not about having them do it more. It's about having them understand what really needs to be done. You helping them prioritize so that you can be a higher performing team. Sorry to be tough, but this is my job to tell you how it is. Aaron, hey Aaron, good to hear from you. Is there a cheat sheet or a book somewhere that can help us with these accountability frameworks? Yes, it's called Leadership Mindset 2.0. You probably have heard of it. And we go through these in a lot more depth and detail in the accelerator. But there's a lot in the book. If you're a real self-study person, just look in the book. If you really want that support, that's what the accelerator is for. Debbie, love the passion. Thank you, Debbie. And how does one develop a team vision? Well, Debbie, again, I do talk about that in a book, and there's nothing I'm going to. A team vision is not something that you just develop very quickly. It's a process that normally takes weeks, and it's a guided process. But it's really what do you want the team to look like? And it could be a year in the future, it could be 5 years in the future. So, and it's really important that you get this right and you explain it properly, and you bring it out to the people, that you roll it out in the proper way. And sometimes you want to do this yourself because sometimes people are waiting. This is a really important thing. I was going to do a purpose and a vision. I learned about all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's time for me to do a purpose and a vision. And I was the founder of the organization. And my coach, Michelle Saul, is that I told Michelle, she was coaching me at the time, amazing coach, and I'm like, okay, I want to do a purpose and a vision. So let's do a workshop where we get all the leadership in and we develop the purpose and the vision. She's like, no. What do you mean no? I'm like, I want it to be collaborative. She's like, you're the leader of the company. You founded the company. They're looking to you for the vision and the purpose. And she's like, you got to roll out the vision and the purpose. You got to take ownership of that. It's a courageous thing to come up with a purpose and a vision. And then once you roll it out to them, they're like, yeah, I want to be part of that. And then they talk about what they want their role to be in that and what they can do to get you to that vision. Now, in my case, that was the right thing to do. In some other cases, you want it to be collaborative. Maybe you want your one or two top people. Maybe you want your very small leadership team. The more people you have, the harder it's going to be. And it's very dependent on the position that you're in. But a lot of people, it's a very courageous thing to say this is the vision, because you're like, what if people reject it? What if people don't want to be a part of it? And when you present your vision and your purpose, there may be occasionally there's a small number of people that aren't bought in, but they shouldn't be on your team anyway, and that's okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing. They just know they're in the wrong place, and then you help them transition to how it is. So that is one thing that I'll really tell you about a purpose and a vision, that it does take courage, and it takes you putting a flag in for you. Board. All right. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. All the nice things people say. Hey, I think it was Bradley. Bradley, nice to see you. Bradley said he's been through one of these and he still applies the strategies on a daily basis. That's awesome. Raphael, I understand you need A players to get the right team together, but at the moment, great people are expensive, and in a medium-sized company, we cannot afford to have a team where everybody has a six-figure salary. Would you compromise money over excellence? Well, look, when I say A players, what I mean, Raphael, this is a great question. When I say A players, that doesn't necessarily mean you're paying them the most money. Because Raphael was like, hey, I know I need A players, but can't necessarily, great people are expensive. But maybe you have people that don't have all the CVs, all the things on their, all the programming languages or all the things, but they have an amazing attitude and they're willing to learn. To me, that is an A player, that they're bringing it every day. They're challenging themselves, they're challenging other people. So to me, being an A player is not about just going and hiring most expensive people. In fact, I want you to get your head out of that. I want you to get your head in that we need a bunch of people that are going to band together, have each other's back, and create something amazing. That is what the A player is. Cool. Exciting but scary. I love it. Thanks for the guidance. Yes, yes, Debbie, it is. And again, everybody, um, look, leadership isn't necessarily easy. This isn't the easiest thing in the world, leadership. It challenges us. That's why I call it growth leadership. It's about us always growing, about doing the scary things, about doing the challenging things, and looking and where can we change? Where am I holding things back? Where am I holding myself back? Where am I holding the team back? And that honesty, that self-reflection, and then learning that. To me, that's what I'm always doing with myself. That's what I help leaders do, and that's how you'll become an amazing leader. All right, Michael here. I'm going to sign off. It's been a real pleasure. Hopefully, you got value out of this. Look, if you join the accelerator, great. I hope it's always a great experience. If it's not right for you at that time, that's okay too. You'll have the replay. Send us a note. We'll give you the slides to download. There's a lot of great information there. I do these a couple times a year. And I'm really here to get your back. So put any comments you have, questions, etc., and I'll answer them personally. All right, Michael signing off, and I will definitely see you.